Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. A judge in Port of Spain rules that WhatsApp subject to libel laws and awarded a woman police constable. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 19th August 2022. Details when we return.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. You are going to have to watch what you say on those WhatsApp messages, memes and blogs after a High Court judge in Trinidad and Tobago created precedent, ruling that such platforms can be subject to libel laws. A woman police constable was awarded $75,000 after a police constable sent a message he couldn't back up to a group chat. Urvashi Tawari Rupnarayan of TV6 News reports.
WhatsApp messages are not as unofficial as you may want to believe, and you may have to exercise a bit more caution in sending them or land yourself in hot water. This, as High Court Judge Frank Sipesad on Tuesday found such messages are in fact subject to libel laws. The matter before the judge involves a woman police constable identified as MS of the Central Division Task Force. She submitted to the court messages sent to a group chat called the Central Watch Group with over 200 participants, mainly members of the TTPS. The WPC claims in January 2020 she was attacked professionally. Her reputation, character, and integrity were injured when another police officer, Police Constable C.H. of Grand Couva, suggested that she rendered sexual favors to get her position and was involved in criminal activity. In his ruling, Justice Sipesad says, in light of the advances of technology, quote, the law in relation to libel and slander can no longer be viewed through the myopic lens of written word versus spoken word, as technological advances have created circumstances by virtue of which the spoken word can be easily encrypted into a permanent, irreversible format which can be accessed from a global platform, unquote. He continued, without reservation, he says, this court concludes that posting and information placed on private messaging sites such as Twitter, Viber, and WhatsApp have to be viewed as publications, and the common law test in relation to libel will apply to same. Such posts are in a comprehensible form, and they can be accessed and read by a potential worldwide audience, end quote. Justice Sipesad says the sense of privacy marketed by WhatsApp is misguided, as even a disappearing message can be screenshot. Messages sent via WhatsApp are easier, he says, than Facebook posts to track, as the account is tied to a mobile number, which is usually visible, and the holder of the said number can be determined, especially where the number is registered locally. As such, he says, the court views the WhatsApp platform as one which can be used for the transmission of defamatory content in a comprehensive form. He cautions the right to freedom of expression must be subject to reasonable restraint. The judge also says someone forwarding messages may also be liable. On the issue of memes, Justice Sipesad notes those involving usually prominent individuals or public officials have become quite frequent, adding it is possible that cartoons can be viewed as defamatory and a claim of libel is possible. Justice Sipesad notes in the case of online comments and blogs, there are no boundaries as every aspect of the lives of public officials are discussed. He says, quote, in flagrant disregard of the doctrine of separation of powers, even judicial officers have been branded and verbally attacked by persons who appear to be blinded by their partisan concerns and all loyalties, end quote. It must be understood, Justice Sipasad says, that these forums are not insulated against libel suits. While social media and messaging services are here to stay, the judge suggests a measured approach and restraint be exercised. The WPC was awarded $75,000 in damages plus costs, and the police constable, CH's, his counterclaim was dismissed. Urvashi Tiwari Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, arrived in Trinidad and Tobago on Wednesday afternoon for a 3-day state visit. Ayana Carter of TTT News reports.
President Ali, accompanied by his wife Mrs. Arya Ali and other members of the Guyanese delegation, disembarked at around 4:30 p.m. at the south terminal of the Piarco International Airport, where he was greeted by Acting President of Trinidad and Tobago, Christine Kangaloo, Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs, Dr. Amory Brown, and other members of Cabinet. This evening, President Ali and his delegation will be hosted to dinner at the President's house, and on Thursday will meet with Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley at the Diplomatic Center for the beginning of bilateral talks, which will include ways to develop a strategic partnership between the two countries in areas such as food security, energy, tourism, trade, and investment, among other topics. An initial memorandum of understanding was signed between Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana in May 2022, when Prime Minister Rowley visited Guyana, addressing the removal of all barriers relating to trade between the countries. President Ali and his delegation will return to Guyana on Sunday. Ayana Carter, TTT News.
33 media awards were given out at the 53rd Caribbean Union Media Awards on Tuesday. The event was held at the Shaw Park Cultural Complex in Tobago.
Secretary General Sonia Gill said the regional media emerged from the pandemic with a greater understanding of their role.
But I think we now recognize a bit more about whatever age we are, whatever generation we are, that the content that we make and the information that we have about ourselves, that is the core of our lives as Caribbean people.
Meanwhile, TTT Limited CEO David Roberts said the company had submitted several entries, but was there to cheer on all the entrants in the spirit of camaraderie.
Is very, very unique in that submissions were allowed from persons who are outside of the CBO, just again recognizing the amount of content that would have been created during this period, and also as a way to encourage persons to come and be a part of the Caribbean Broadcasting Union.
Media houses from the region's Dutch, English, and Spanish-speaking territories participated in the competition to showcase the excellent work being created in the Caribbean.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The DLP prepares to induct new members at its annual conference this weekend in Barbados.
The Democratic Labour Party says there's been a spike in new members. The party's first Vice President Steve Blackett told a news conference today close to 300 members joined the party in the last 7 to 8 months and some 200 in the last 3 months alone. He noted that increased membership coincided with the election of new President Dr. Ronnie Yearwood back in May.
They have been coming on their own volition because the party has not really launched any direct or singular program or anything to attract members to the party. And these people have been coming on their own volition, like I said. I don't know if I believe, though, because it coincided with the election of our new president. Maybe that is one of the features of the attraction to the party, but certainly we've been seeing larger numbers coming on their own and also inquiring of membership to the party. The only common feature that I can see in that period would be the election of our new president.
Still from Barbados, that country has failed to capitalize on lucrative advantages of heritage tourism. And if Professor Sir Henry Fraser has his way, there will be more investments to develop this aspect of the island's tourism product.
Professor Sir Henry Fraser chided the country for not valuing a number of historic structures.
the South Point Lighthouse. We ought to be ashamed. It is the most obvious no-brainer for heritage development. Every tourist in Christchurch at all those South Coast hotels, and Patricia will confirm this, I'm sure, they all see that lighthouse and they all go there. And we're doing nothing. We're ignoring the plans that we at the National Trust have put forward to government. I mean, it upsets me a little bit. The architecture of historic Bridgetown and its garrison. There are almost as many derelict buildings now at the garrison as there are in good shape. They're mostly the smaller ones, admittedly. But government will do nothing about its promise to do something when we were nominated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site 11 years ago. We will lose that inscription, but it won't matter because we've never utilized it. The data suggests that sites, cities, or countries which are given UNESCO World Heritage status have between a 30 and a 40% increase in tourism visitation. And again, we've been preaching that, but it has not registered.
Former Tourism Minister in St. Lucia, Dominic Frederick, continues to find fault with efforts to revive LIAT if it were to function as it did in the past. Don Nicholas of the DBS News World tells us more.
Former Tourism Minister Dominic Fede, in acknowledging the long-standing issue of regional airlift, even in LIAT's heydays, highlighted the perennial management problem the airline has experienced over the years. He noted that two of the airline's principal shareholders, Barbados and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, have made arrangements with the government of Antigua to hand over their shares on the premise that it is unfair to have taxpayers bear the cost of the millions of dollars in losses that LIAT has incurred over time. And he thinks it's time for LIAT to put its house in order. He was speaking in the context of the Caribbean Premier League CPL T20 cricket tournament starting later this month, which will place a greater demand for regional travel.
And so what has to happen now is that we need to fix the management structures of LIAT. There are reports of excessive staff. There are reports of some bad management habits and bad financial practices, that if we don't change that culture, we're going to be back to square one. So what we want to ensure is that we have a system that's workable.
Looking at other regions, Mr. Fede observed that there are several privately owned airlines that are operating successfully.
In the Bahamas, for example, why are they indigenously owned, privately run airlines that are successful in Belize, for example? And so there are models across the Caribbean that we can use.
The former tourism minister believes it's time to move away from the traditional mindset that the responsibility of managing airlines falls on the backs of governments. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
Outrage continues in Belize for a young man arrested by police and died after being left locked up in a police vehicle for hours. More in this report.
There is outrage in Belize following the death of Derek O, who was arrested and allegedly left for hours in a police van and later found dead. It is reported that O, 20, a resident of Cristo Rey, was arrested on Sunday at a party around 1 a.m. According to reports, instead of being taken to the Corozal police station, it is alleged he was forgotten in the back of a police van for 14 hours. He was discovered dead later that day in the van around 3 p.m. after an officer came across a foul scent. Prime Minister of Belize, John Braceno, who described the incident as a tragedy beyond comprehension, said he too, like the rest of the nation, demands full answers. The young man's family members are also calling for justice. A post-mortem will be performed to determine the exact cause of his death.
Conveniently located in the Grand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know.
Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Foodfare will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Foodfare web store. Foodfare, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.